Hey folks, I was planning to do this video as first impressions ride of riding Commander GT Pro Plus. That's a larger battery, much heavier, 123-pound model. But I think it became more of a cautionary tale. So let me skip the reason why I got Plus model. Well, battery size is the main reason, but kind of there was the whole Facebook argument, etc. There are a few things that were interesting, but let me focus on the cautionary tale. So I got the wheel this weekend from Alien Rides, picked it up. I rode maybe a couple of miles around the house just to do basic function check, make sure that everything seems okay, and it did. This morning I decided to do a small mountain ride. I was planning to do Mount Hamilton, which is around 42 miles, about 21 mile up, 21 mile down. But before doing that, I wanted to do a shorter ride, again up the mountain, but this is only 4 miles up and 4 miles down and a few more miles getting to and from. So this is my very comfortable ride. I've done this ride dozens of times on many wheels, basically every single wheel I've owned, which is I think 11, 12 different wheels at this point. So very much my comfort zone. This morning I did the tire pressure check. It came from Alien Rides already inflated, and it didn't seem like anything was off, so I went off on my ride. The first time something seemed awry is as I was getting to the beginning of the hill, I had to go over a small speed bump, and I may have gotten an inch, 2 inches of air at most, very small bump. Landing was not perfectly vertical, but generally it causes me no problem. I'm able to compensate for whichever way wheel is tilting. This time it took a little bit more effort, and it registered because typically it's completely no off. This time it took a little bit of an effort to stabilize the wheel after such a minor jump. So I thought, okay, maybe heavier wheel have to be more careful with jumps, etc. And I continued on my way. As I was riding up the mountain, it felt like it takes more effort for me to control the wheel. And also there was this interesting wobble that I would hit every time I would go over uneven ground, which again seemed very strange because GT has a hydraulic suspension. It's my favorite type of suspension. I expect ride to be very good. In fact, my experimentation with GT Pro Non-Plus showed that suspension was excellent. So I was very surprised that I'm experiencing this, but again, heavier weight, maybe takes a little bit more to adjust. I haven't spent any time adjusting suspension, so I figured this is something I need to resolve after the ride when I get home. Okay, so I continued riding. And I got all the way to the top. Some things seemed off, but I was willing to assume that this is just weight of the wheel, my technique, etc. Plus, I was using Clark Pad Titans, which are not really performance pads. I like them for this type of rides when I'm not planning to push a PUC. They're comfortable, they provide enough control, but if you need the ultimate control, this is probably not the set of pads you want to have. So I thought maybe I should try different pads to have more control over such a heavy wheel, but again, nothing seemed clearly wrong. I decided to go a little bit down hill on the other side, and there is a piece of road that is at an angle towards the curve. So you will need to go straight despite the fact that the surface of the road is curved to the right. Typically, this is not an issue at all, but this time Will really wanted to go down this incline, and I had to swerve into the incoming lane not to lose control. Now this is country road, there were no cars anywhere around, so this was fairly safe. But overall, I did not appreciate the fact that I was not in the control of the wheel, so I stopped, took a look to see if anything is wrong. Everything seemed to be okay, but that gave me a serious reason for concern. Started going downhill, I experienced similar situation twice. I basically realized that I have really hard time controlling this wheel at low speed, which is a little bit strange because typically I can get below walking speed, 2 miles an hour. I feel fairly comfortable riding with this speed. And with this wheel, I was losing control below 15 miles an hour. Not completely losing it, but I definitely didn't feel that I fully was controlling all of the movement of the wheel. So kept riding, got all the way home without any incidents, even though I did swerve not into the incoming lane, but closer than I like to the incoming lane a couple of times to regain control on the way down. And then as I was going through this in my head, trying to figure out what's going on, why is this wheel behaving this way, is it just the weight, is this the pad, something else I've done, I remember that my electric pump, when I was checking the pressure this morning, behaved a little weird. And the weirdness was that typically when you attach it, it shows you the pressure in the tire, and then you press a button and it inflates it to preset PSI, which for this ride I was planning to have 33. So when I attached it initially, it showed zeros, and then I pressed the button and it immediately jumped to 33, and I figured, okay, something was weird, but I guess the pressure is right, so I'm okay to go. So I tried to do this several times with the pump, with another pump for my bike. In both cases, I realized that when I'm attaching the pump, it fails to push the pin in a valve down. As a result, it's not getting the pressure from the tire. So I got a different pump that I use for the car. I attached it, and at this point it showed 14 psi. Very low, very low. Now, I did play with the spin a little bit just to make sure that it's functional. So probably when I was riding it, it was around 19-20, not quite 14, but that's still very low for my weight and weight of this wheel. So my guess, what I realized, that probably everything I've experienced is just a result of the extreme low pressure in the tire. Now, pressure in the tire is very important. If pressure is too high, wheel gets a little wiggly. Typically, you gain a little bit of stability by letting some air out. But if you have pressure that's too low, this is exactly what you would experience. You would experience that wheel just kind of wants to go to one side, and it's difficult to control because the surface that makes contact with the road is much wider, and it takes a lot of effort to push it back. So I inflated it to 33 as I was expecting, went for a few mile ride just around the house, and I was trying to ride it much more aggressively just to test it. And it seems like it completely resolved the problem. So my hypothesis right now is that what I experienced is fully tire related. So it's not interesting as a first impression. I'll do another ride to provide first impressions. But just a cautionary tale, check your tire pressure. It makes a big difference. And this was not a flat tire, it was just under pressure tire. And when you're trying to ride in less than trivial conditions, there are some turns, there is some surface that at an incline makes a huge difference. And I think that's what I experienced. Hopefully it helps. Thanks.